back to the channel. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about how I care for the Dwarf Cavendish, or the dwarf banana plant. I picked this one up about a year ago at the supermarket, and I've just been kind of keeping it in my house. I did have it in my greenhouse for a little while, but it got a little bit too hot and a little bit too dry, which is why my leaves are a little bit fried here. And so that was a mistake on my end, but we'll talk a little bit about that and what you can do to kind of care for these and what kind of environment they like. I'll also talk a little bit today about how we propagate them. You can see that there's some of these little offshoots coming out of the rhizomes. So you can actually separate those from the main plant and then replant them as their own plants. So banana plants are tropical, very tropical. I'm up in Canada here, but we can keep them indoors throughout the winter. They really don't like to get colder than about 55 degrees Fahrenheit. You know, Celsius, we don't want to get much colder than about 15 Celsius. They really do like those tropical temperatures. So talking Celsius again, anywhere from 20 to 26, 27 is kind of really where they like to be. And they like the humidity to be really high. If you see your edges browning, like my edges are browning here like I talked about, that's usually because of the low humidity. It's a little bit too dry in the environment. And that's how you start seeing these brown edges here. You can use a humidifier, you can use like a pebble tray with some water or anything like that, or keep them, if you want to keep them in your bathroom. It's a great place for them, and they stay nice and tropical and humid and are really happy there. They are susceptible to pests a little bit. Things like spider mites really like banana plants, especially if you're keeping them in a dry climate. That's why you really got to keep the humidity up. Other than that, I found them to be fairly easy to care for. They don't die easily. They don't look great right now, this one at least, but they're pretty hardy as far as keeping them alive, as long as you don't let them get too cold. All right, guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how I separate one of these new growths that's come out from the roots into a new plant here. You can do it one of two ways. You can either pull the whole plant out of the pot, separate the soil away, be really exact on it, and separate them off that way. I'm going to do it the lazy way today, whereas I'm just going to take my knife and I'm just cutting through the soil and just cut a section off, and that's going to be what I do. Let's do with this guy. I'm just cutting right in between a couple of those tubers there that are coming up. So right in between the stems there, right in like so. And I'm just going to cut it like that. That should free up this plant here a little bit. So I've cut this little guy off of there. I'll come bring this up so you guys can see. A little bit of roots, which is what we want. See, I cut it off the main section right there is where it was attached and shooting off, but it does have its own roots now. So we can go ahead and plant this and it'll become its own banana plant. So I've done a few of these already, and I've actually cut a couple of these and replanted previously. So this one gave me about 9 offshoots last time. It's already grown about 10 or 15 more. So I've just been replanting them in these pots. And I'm going to grow more banana plants out of these. And you can see that they're starting to grow these little offshoots as well, even out of these little plants already. So without having many plants, you can really get a lot of banana plants if you wanted to really quickly. I'm going to go ahead and clean this one up right now though, guys, because it's got some dead leaves on it. Again, when I left these in the greenhouse, they all got a little bit hot. And by a little bit, I mean it got to about 44 Celsius one day. So the fact that they didn't die just kind of, I guess, had them watered fairly well, but I guess just shows how tropical they really are. They can stand those high temperatures, but they really don't like the cold temperatures. Again, so here's some of that damage, you guys, from the heat and low humidity. You can kind of see a little bit of the coloring in the leaves, but it's not great. Probably because the plant isn't very happy right now, but hopefully as we get some of this growth off and it starts to grow in the proper climate again, we'll get a nice strong banana. I'm going to try taking out one of these smaller ones off the sides here and seeing if I can't just plant them in some water. It's going to be a little experiment of mine. I'm going to put them in these little water trays, and we're going to see if we can regrow them that way as well. So here's a little guy I'm going to take. Same thing, cut the root out. Just one little cut. Kind of gives me these little roots on this little guy. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's just this little plant shoot. And you can see where I cut it. There's where I just kind of cut the section of the root off, but it's already got its own little roots starting. And that's a perfect candidate for starting a new banana plant there. I'm gonna go and rinse this off in the sink, and then we're gonna put it in those. So there's a few roots there. Just got as much of the soil off as possible. We're gonna go and stick this in our little glass jar here. I got 3 little plants in my banana tray, so we'll do an update maybe later on and see how the roots are developing and if they're ready to be repotted. You could just take them and repot them immediately in some soil. I'm actually trying this for the first time to see how this turns out. Anyways guys, I'm gonna cut a few more off here and put them in my tray. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please think about subscribing to the channel below. Think about hitting the like button for me, I really appreciate it, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.